Stephen, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing amazing. Good to see you, Rick. Always a pleasure on these Saturdays for us to connect on this virtual platform, to connect, to share, to enlighten, to empower, to piss some people off, whatever it is that we do.
I see
At
you
the end of
you
the
you
day,
came forward this morning. You starting already. We not even, let me see, we not even 5 seconds into the show.
I
Yes,
love these
sir.
types of environments where we're charged up and we're speaking truth to power. We're blowing our trumpets as we've been, I believe, called to do. And so I'm excited to be here, especially in our cultural context, and then to have some amazing guests with us today, Rick.
You
I mean, we've been
definitely.
rolling it out with some cool guests, and so I'm excited to have two friends, Santita Jackson, an amazing vocalist, amazing gift vocally, and then a commentator of politics and of culture, the host of the Santita Jackson Show, which airs Monday through Friday on WCPT 820 AM. Santita, welcome to The Revolution. Will not be televised, it will be streamed.
I love you and Dr. Ricky. I love you both. Thank you for the invitation.
And then I've got my other sister, my other friend, Pastor Dixon-Williams, hailing from New York. New York is in the house today. Did I put the New York accent on
For
it right?
sure. No, yeah, for sure.
Big
For
ups.
sure.
She
Did all
serves,
right. You did all right.
she serves as the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton and the creator of Who's That Lady, a brilliant mind, an amazing gift to the body of Christ and to the world. She also comes from a corporate background, so she's able to kind of walk between those lines, and we'll be able to share from very perspective today as we deal with this topic of the black of the berry. Interesting, isn't it?
So
Oh,
Stephen, I need to interject here. So
yeah.
excuse my imposition. So before you welcome our global audience, I just need them to know how we came about choosing our guests for today. So Stephen and I went to Google and we Googled brilliant and beautiful. These were the first two that came up. So we just went with the first two. So don't be hating if it's not you. This all we did. We just Googled two words.
That's
And
it.
oh, and black. We put black in there. Brilliant,
Hey.
beautiful, and black. And this is who we got: Miss Santita Jackson, Reverend Dixon-Williams. And you see their Facebook handles underneath their name. Please go to their pages, friend them, follow them, glean from them. They are wise. They are invaluable to not only this social commentary we're having about blackness in America, but just as standards for femininity and for girl power. So we're so glad that you all are here. I had to say that, Stephen. Thanks for
Oh,
allowing
yes.
me to have a moment of personal privilege, but I needed them to
Thank
know
you
the
very much.
context
Yes,
of
sir.
why they're here today.
I like the way you talk, sir.
Thank you.
I love him. I love him. I love him.
Hey, Rick, why don't you tell us who this conversation is targeted to and focused for?
Man, thank you. As Stephen says, it's for Lottie Dottie and everybody, but specifically it's for pastors, it's for entrepreneurs, it's for business executives, it's for leadership consultants, it's for digital content creators, it's for educators, it's for everybody who wants to maximize their potential, mobilize their purpose, and multiply their productivity. Let me give you that again. The
Yes.
revolution will not be televised, it will be streamed. It's for every individual on the planet who wants to maximize your potential, who wants to mobilize your purpose, and who wants to multiply your productivity.
Thank you, Rick.
You're
So
welcome,
I
man.
want you to plug in. I need everybody to hit the share button on Facebook so that other people in your network, your circle of influence can hear what's being shared. They can be enlightened and empowered just as you're being. And then also, we want you to join our private Facebook group. It's a lot of
Yes.
goodies that pop up in there. So you can just type it in the revolution. That's all you got to type, and it'll pop up. Three simple questions that you have to answer to make sure we got the right people in the mix. We don't need infiltrators
You're right.
coming in. It's like we got infiltrators coming into our protest, tearing stuff up. We don't need
Thank
infiltrators
you.
coming into our space, tearing things up. We need the right people with the right mindset.
Hold on, Stephen. You about to get the horn already. You getting the horn early in this conversation, sir. You are already on a roll.
That's right.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Connect with the group so that you can be inspired, empowered, empowered. And we got some special things that are coming in the future, near future, for that group of people. But let's dive into our context today in our conversation. I was scrolling through and doing some research based upon our title today. And let me just start off with some facts. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice is actually true. And the darker the berry, the more antioxidants are there. So you can apply that in whatever context.
Say that one more time, please, sir. Say that one more time.
The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. And the blacker the berry, the more antioxidants are present. And so it's more
yes, sir.
Yeah. So Wallace Thurman's first novel, The Blacker the Berry, it's a novel of Negro life. It's an autobiographical satire whose protagonist internalizes biases against her dark complexion. And as she navigates through life, she has to come to terms with her skin color in order to find satisfaction in her life. I think that book would be helpful for us to read if you've never heard about it before. You've been introduced. So go on Amazon when we get done today and pick up that. It's relevant for our current cultural context. And again, for those who have been hiding under a rock, what's happening to Black people now is not anything new. This has been happening. This is a continuous, perpetual, persistent narrative that for whatever reason, this recent occurrence has lit a match. There's major outrage, and we're seeing people of all races, all hues, all nationalities, all religious backgrounds and affiliations coming together, trying to fight for justice and equality for Black people. I'm reminded of a movie that I was made to watch when I was attending Homewood Flossmoor High School. Now, those in the Chicago area know HF now, but when I went there, it wasn't a lot of Black people. And I was amazed in my history class that the white instructor who looked like he had a pickup truck. His back of his neck was red, so he was redneck, literally, and probably had a shotgun in the back. And I'm thinking he's waving the Confederate flag, and he made it mandatory that part of our curriculum was to watch The Birth of a Nation.
Wow.
And to watch Roots. He wanted those white students to be empowered and informed about their history.
Wow.
And I was amazed at that. That always rang true and stuck with me. And going back, looking at The Birth of a Nation, the original one from 1915, which was morally repugnant as it framed the KKK as heroes, and it colored African Americans in an ugly hue. It positioned us, portraying us as the root of all evil and unworthy of freedom. And that's relevant because it seems as if that has trickled down through the DNA of Caucasians in this country specifically. And now places us in a position where we're still 472 years later fighting for basic rights, fighting to be treated as human beings. And I believe that our guests, our co-commentators today can share. Of course, Santita has a rich history in the fight for our people. And then Tish has a history. She's there in the Hamptons, a Black woman pastoring in the Hamptons.
Yes.
Also a Black woman who's worked at the high levels of corporate America with Turner Broadcasting. So Santita, we'll kick off with you. If you could share with
Stephen,
us.
before she begins, just in case there's somebody hiding under a rock, like somewhere in the universe, in the cosmos, please just give a little peek behind the curtain of Santita's ancestral DNA, please. Let somebody know who her daddy and mama them is. If you don't mind, thank you.
My daddy and my mama. Thank you very much. It took the both of them.
Yes.
Right. It took the both of them.
Yes. That's why I said daddy and mama. Yes.
And them.
Yeah, and them.
Jesse Jackson is a force. You haven't met Jacqueline Jackson. Listen.
Right.
Be very clear.
Exactly.
That Red Jackson didn't get to where he was all by himself. It was Miss Jacqueline Jackson that led a lot from behind. She's often not seen in front of the camera, but she is a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
And I'm glad that their union came together and produced such amazing fruit. All of the kids, all of their offspring are amazing people, my family. But Santita is a jewel. She's super special, insightful, intelligent, critical. All of the elements that you need to be a superior African American, she possesses them.
Yes.
So Santita, we're looking at Blackness and why it's seen as a threat to Black America. From your lens, share your perspective, please.
Well, first of all, I think we have to start by saying that Breonna Taylor would have been 27 years old yesterday.
Right.
And I'm sure, along with Pastor Davis, my sister Tish, we are part of this. We and my sister and I are part of the Say Her Name Breonna Taylor campaign.
Absolutely.
because we are looking at our Black men, and we should. When I was talking to my brother Yusef, when my brothers call me, they often call me at night, and they're on their way home. And this particular night stood out to me because he said, "Okay, I'm almost home, so love you. I'll talk to you tomorrow." And I said, "No, no, 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 stop, 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 stop." I did not realize how I had internalized. I've got to get you in your front door.
Wow.
And I stayed with him until he got into his house. And after he got in, he said, I said, you're in? He said, yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard the garage door close. And when I said goodbye, I burst into tears because I said, wow, this is what my mother says, that I have Black children. I have Black sons. I'm never comfortable. And so, let's go back. Slaves are not born, slaves are made. And when the reason that you need to watch the original Roots, which was produced in part by the man who wrote Roots, Alex Haley. This is very important because you don't need an iteration. You need to go to the origination of where we were coming from.
Right.
He said, you saw Kunta continuing to fight. And Fiddler said, wait, you in America now.
Mm.
You really don't understand where you are. And I'm going to help you understand, but somehow or another, he never quite got it, which saved him. And those of us who don't quite get it saved the rest of us.
Right.
And we have to be aware of that because Blackness has been demonized, but it really is because I was reading a book, I pulled it out. When we look at slavery, we have to be very clear that this is an economic construct. Now, we've internalized this and we've conflated it socially. Our hair is not straight enough. We're not light enough. Our features are not keen enough. No. The Kardashians have put all that to rest.
Wow.
It's illegal for everybody, but Black people be Black. Someone else can have a large posterior and they get ours. Come on now. If I have a large behind, Black men, we get a look. This child, the gymnast Gabby,
Good gracious.
Black people went in on her hair. I said, now wait a minute, you can't even get up and down a flight of steps. This girl twirled and jumped all over a mat, and you're upset that her hair was out of order. Well, it should have been permed. I said, so it can fall out on the floor. So I think we have to begin, which is why I'm glad that this revolution is not just it won't be televised. I'm glad it's being streamlined.
Right.
Because you're taking us right down to the bone of where we are, because we engage and indulge and are too immersed in too much self-hatred. Mm-hmm. Even as we are looking at a man choked to death, we can't go into, oh my goodness, well, do you know about the troubles he had? So what? Everybody has troubles. Either you manifest them or you have them in your head. So,
right. That doesn't, and I think that's what people miss. It doesn't matter what he was doing. That doesn't diminish his humanity.
Right.
And that's what people seem to miss.
Well, no one's looking at the police officer. How is it that he so casually put all of his weight on his neck?
Man.
Why didn't you ask, wait a minute, this is a tall, good-looking Black man who was a baller, who hung out with the NBA. They worked in the same club, but the white man was on the outside. The Black man, the attractive one, was inside. This sounds awfully personal to me. Mm-hmm.
Very personal.
It's about. So, just without going on and on and on, I think that we've got to begin to take, one of the things that you and I do, Ricky, and you and I do, Stephen, we break things down. Because, I was recruited to school to study math, and I'm a musician, and that's nothing but math. Everything adds up. We continue to say, Pastor Tish, oh, that didn't make sense. That didn't add up. No, darling. Every equation has factors. Now there's some blank spaces here on the side of the plus or the negative symbol. But everything adds up. You just don't have all the pieces. You don't have all the factors.
Right.
But there's some things that we know as Black people. Mm-hmm. And that's why the three of you, are so important as our ministers, because Stephen and I have talked about this often. We've laughed about the Black preacher being the freest, richest Black person in America, and that is true because we pay them to deliver our message. And that's why we have to keep our churches strong, whether they are in a building or not.
Right.
So
Thank you, Santita. I mean, you made a good point there. And I want to add on to it. We have to know white people. We've learned white people.
Absolutely.
We know them inside and out because
Right.
that's the only way we've been able to survive. We have to flip that script and help them to understand us
Right.
and learn us so that they can understand if you don't know us, you ain't going to be able to survive either. I mean that in a multiplicity of ways.
Right. Right.
oh yeah, and they've studied us. What we have to do is appreciate us
Yes.
and understand us,
Right.
because stop needing to be liked so much.
Yes.
You need to be you
Mhm.
don't be needy for like. Need to be respect.
You need to stay there again. I think it's important for you to elucidate and expand on that because
Well,
that's
because we're
a disease all in itself for some Black people.
I want to pitch it over to our pastor, to Pastor Tish. But I will say we're needy.
Okay.
We're needy for being liked. And see, when you're needy, the world does not respect you and they mistreat you. When you require respect, people treat you differently.
Mhm.
And that's where we have to stay right there. We have to require respect. You may
Right.
not like me. I don't care about that. But I require that you respect me.
Right.
And
Mhm.
that requires of you that you respect yourself.
Right.
For sure.
And then we respect each other, because we have the big myth that Black people are the most forgiving people in the world. That is not true. If we were forgiving, we'd have peaceful neighborhoods and we'd be at peace ourselves. We've been excusing people. We've
Mhm.
excused white people for
Right.
all of the things that have been done to us. If we had forgiven them, we'd be at peace. So let's just take all this apart and
I
get
love
this
it.
right, right?
Yeah.
This is great.
Tish, what's your lens? What's been your experience?
First,
Of
let
course.
me say thank you for the opportunity to be here to share with you all today. And Sister Santita, you all have all you need. I'm not sure why I'm here, but this is great. This is phenomenal. Thank
Because
you
you're the
all.
pastor.
So they say on a good day. On a good day.
Amen.
So I think that my lens and kind of our threat is inferred in our subject today. So the darker the berry, you have to continue the quote. The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I think our threat lies in the juice, right? So if we begin to talk about juice and what juice is, the juice is the best part of the fruit. If you were to ask a child whether or not they want the apple or they just want the juice, they're going to take the juice always, right? So the juice is the extraction of the fruit. But here's the challenge with that. The juice holds all the nutrients. You said it in the beginning, Stephen. The juice has all the antioxidants. The
Right.
juice has all the fight power. I can get rid of all the other stuff. As a matter of fact, we are right now in a season, an era where juicing is the latest craze. It's where we get
Right.
our B12 shots, right? We make smoothies every day because of the juice. It empowers us. It strengthens us. The juice adds all the flavor. You can make a cake with juice. You don't necessarily need water. And I dare say if you use juice, the cake is going to be better. It's all about the juice.
It's
the juice
all about the
quenches.
juice.
If I'm thirsty, I can have juice to quench my thirst. But here's the thing about our people. In order to get the juice, the fruit has to be pressed. And the fruit has to be squeezed. And we are a squeezed, pressed people. And yet, for all the squeezing and the pressing, what they don't realize, they only bringing out the best in us.
Mm-hmm.
So for all that they have done and all the ways that they have tried to kill us, even with the middle passage, what I have always believed is that what you ended up with was the survival of the fittest. You ended up with the best of the best. The ones who ended up taking the most pressure, the most abuse, and survived to tell the story. We are the DNA of those who survive. And so this idea that you think you're going to kill us, they should hang it up. They tried in every way possible, and it has not worked. You keep squeezing, and the more you squeeze, the more juice we possess. And then I'm from New York, as Stephen said, more specifically, Brooklyn is always in the house. I don't care where you are. You could be in Beirut. Brooklyn is always going to be in the house. And in Brooklyn, one of the things that we always wanted to know is who had the juice. In other words, who had the influence. So even when we look to the street and the street vernacular, we say the juice. Black people have always been people of influence. If you look at hip hop culture, you can go across the world And people may not be able to speak English, but they can quote Biggie backward and forward. We have influenced culture, sports, music, medicine. Everything that we put our hand to, we bring the juice. Everything that we touch, we influence it in positive and amazing ways. And so we have the juice, we have the influence. Anything that we touch, anything we put our mind to. If you want to know what group of people has the juice, it is and always has been Black people. To Sister Santita's point, if we wear our hair a certain way, everybody's gonna go out and start wearing their hair that way. If Martin starts saying "you go girl," now everybody got to start saying "you go girl." We have the juice, we influence everything. And then, if I may, I believe we're in a platform of adults. Even when we look at a sexual nature, we got the juice. We juicy. We look good, right?
Right.
Everything
That's
about
right.
us is appealing.
Right.
We got the
Yes.
nectar. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
even in that is a threat. The idea that if our white counterpart, that's the problem is that we are overly, hyperly sexualized,
Right.
and then our counterparts are
Objectified.
desexualized. And so if I wear short shorts, it's a whole different reaction than if Karen, Susie, whoever wears short shorts. And so I think the very presence of these bodysuits that we have, these figures, these, as you mentioned about Brother Floyd, his figure, his structure, his body was just imposing. That's all juice. So when we talk about what the threat is found in that which lies in us. And they want so much to have it. And we've influenced everything around us because of it. So.
And we kill the infection. When you talk about antioxidants, we kill the infection because there was an infection in America when we were all brought over here in the 1500s. 1619, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
But this European experiment to conquer the Americas, to steal it from the indigenous people, started in the 1500s, really 1492 with Christopher Columbus. I mean, an explorer who got lost. I mean, help me, y'all. How are we honoring an explorer who got lost? Really? He never even got to the United States. But I'm going to leave that alone. I'll let you all let that marinate for a minute. But the fact is, this was a European experiment grounded in Queen Isabella and European monarchs who own everything. They were kind of trying to steal some mo. My father calls it a bad case of need mo. You just got to get mo and mo and mo.
Wow.
And so they were coming over here looking for gold, looking for diamonds, looking for everything that they could find that belonged to someone else. And that's an infection because 90% of the indigenous population is now gone. 90% of the indigenous population is gone. The original sin, with my tipping my hat to our ancestors, is a genocide of the indigenous people. Agreed. And we're right behind that. So my mother says, you know what? If God wanted us on top of that Mayflower, that's where he would have put us. He put us in the bowels of the ship. We're the juice, Pastor, as you said.
Right.
We bring the antioxidant. We bring the healing. We kill the infection.
Yes.
Now, y'all kill us while we try to kill the infection.
Right.
That's what Dr. King, Malcolm, everybody. No. But we kill the infection. We keep trying to give you the truth. Dr. King talked about a universal basic income 50 years ago.
Yes.
We've been talking about national health care for decades. Well, now here we are.
That's right.
55% of LA is unemployed. I repeat, the University of Southern California had a study that came out a month ago that said 55% of LA County is unemployed. Now, how did you get there? COVID-19? No, darling, I don't think so. This economy had already collapsed. And it collapsed because of greed. We bring the juice, Pastor. Let's kill this infection.
And that's so critical. I was thinking about something, and that is we don't need any more white apology. We don't need more white apology. We need them to become Black apologists. And there's a world of difference. Because what we need, if your apology is in you standing up for us from our side, not you standing on your side as if you got to give us permission to be human and permission to be to be black. That's supremacy in full display. No, we need you to become black apologists. Get on our side and defend the right that we have to be who we are in a country that you brought us to. And so that's what I put out to white America. We don't need any more apologies. We don't need you to say you sorry. Become a black apologist. That's a t-shirt. Become a black apologist and stand up for our right to be who we are, like we are, where we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Tish, you were about
And
to
if
say
I
something.
may, it's not our job to do your work.
No, that's the point.
I have had several friends over this last week ask me, what can I do? What should I do?
Oh, God.
You have to do the work. This is not our work. This is not black folks' work. This is white folks' work. We will handle our people. You handle your people. But this is your job to do. We are done doing the work for you. We are done doing the research for you. You have to do the work and figure out how to make this better.
It's funny you say that. I had a conversation. I got a text a few days ago from a white friend, and I'm sure he was well intentioned in his way. And so he says, Rick, he's going on and on how he feels about what's happening, and he doesn't like it, and he's outraged. And then he says, so tell me what I can do. And so I say to him, well, look, let's start with a conversation, and I will collaborate with you on what you feel you ought to be doing. That was Wednesday. Today is Saturday. I haven't heard back from him yet.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to have to become black apologists. That's the point, Tish. And look, it's not, you need to initiate the listening party. They need to say, hey, look, what do I need to know? Agreed. What is it that I don't know that I've been perpetrating? Like, it's like I was on a conversation last night with a dear white lady. And I said to her, white people can't help other white people understand black people. Y'all can't just talk among yourselves.
Yes, sir.
And expect to get a better understanding about us. You got to talk to us, and you got to seek to understand us.
Yeah. And Robin DiAngelo's book, White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk about Racism, is an incredible book. And it helps white people, if they read it, to understand that white supremacy permeates their lives, even in spaces and ways that they don't even recognize how they perpetuate it. And what they fail to understand when they come with their excuses about, well, that's not me, my ancestors, my mama, my daddy didn't do it. Listen, racism is a waste product. And I'm only saying waste product because Ricky has friends on here that may not like me cussing. But racism is
really? You blame?
It's a waste product of a system that prioritizes white people. It's not an individual moral failing. It's a system.
Talk, sir.
Right. And because it's a system, our smiling, our niceness, our degrees, our economic status, none of that interrupts it. The only thing that interrupts the system is intentional action.
Absolutely.
And just a production note, we gonna get the words he didn't say on here when this is over. So, but you said the key word. The key word is intentionality.
Yeah,
it's got to be intentional.
Santita, what do you suggest from your lens, from a policy perspective? Because I believe that policy is what shifts. I learned that from your dad. We can do all this other stuff, but until policy shifts, things don't change. So what would you suggest from a policy place that we need to focus our attention and our fight and our efforts?
We have to be very intentional, if you will, about equality. About equality. The black wealth gap, black women have zero wealth. Zero. That's intentional. That's intentional. It takes black women 20 months to make what a white man of similar skills and credentials made in 12.
Will you say that one more time, please?
It takes black women until August of the next year make what a white man has made by December of 31st of the previous year.
Wow.
It takes us 20 months to make what a white man of similar skills and credentials has made in 12 months. It takes our Latinx sisters 23 months. So I think number one, you need to get the information. You need to have the data.
Right.
And we have to be very serious about our agenda. When Reverend Jackson ran for president, It was because he said, we've got to stop asking you for what we need. We have to get to the table ourselves and present our agenda.
Right.
So from policy, one of the things, look, whoever's the president, not really, of course I have my preference, but whoever's the president, you must negotiate with them. I have a few more months left in the Trump presidency. If he will come up with something meaningful for HBCUs, I will work with him. I need an Art Fletcher moment. Who was Art Fletcher? Art Fletcher was the man detailed by Richard Nixon to get monies into the SBA program and into our communities. In the 70s, when I grew up, this is before Stephen was born, seriously. I was a little girl and I was watching Art Fletcher come to Chicago and go to all of the cities all around the country looking for Black businessmen. He didn't care if you were a Democrat or a Republican. He was a Lincoln Republican. He was trying to get money into our communities because you know what? Black people make Black people. Everybody makes their own. It doesn't mean that you don't reach across the aisle and help other people, because I don't want to exclude well-meaning white people from the conversation.
Right.
Just as I don't want to include Black collaborationists in this one. I mean, I'm going to go past Clarence Thomas to get me and Elizabeth Warren every day. Let's be very clear on that. No, because some people want to keep me on the plantation. Some people trying to help me get out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Honey, because we're still looking at old Sally Hemings, and God bless her, God rest her soul. But we've gone, see, this is where we have to get to our own craziness, because we're looking for Sally, and we've gone past Harriet Tubman. So for policy, you've got to have, there have been moments in our history when you got to pay for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund so that they can take these issues to court. Our public school system is more segregated than it's been in more than 50 years.
Right.
That's a policy issue. So as Joe Biden, who got your vote, he inherited it, he didn't earn it. And he also he was not supportive of busing. You need to ask him now, where do you stand on this? I'm not saying it's a non-starter, but you need to ask him. Now, I understood where you stood on busing when you said you made common cause with segregationists. I get that. I don't get it, but I get it. Today, I want to know, how are you going to desegregate these schools? Because see, my children need to be globally competitive, and where they're headed right now, they can't be.
Right.
Because you got 400,000 plus students in Chicago who are scrambling to go to Whitney Young, Northside Prep, about 5 or 6 schools. That's unacceptable, and it happens in every city all across the country. So education, housing, healthcare, there's some basics that we need. I believe you need to have a universal basic income. Everybody might not agree with that. I respect that. But I know what Gaddafi did in Libya. He eliminated poverty in Libya. He said, this is the most oil-rich nation in Africa, so everybody's going to benefit from this. So when you get married, you get $50,000. Anywhere you want to go to school in the world, we will pay for it because we're going to invest in you. We have to demand that America invest in people.
Thank you.
Are we a society or are we an economy? The brilliant writer David Maciota asked that question. Right. Now, Gore Vidal said his disappointment in America is that we made a decision to be an empire when we could have achieved civilization. Now, these are some deep questions that Black people are going to have to ask and answer. This is what our ancestors did coming out of slavery. We lost 90% of our acreage. And Black farmers are struggling today. Stephen, Tish, Ricky, what we have to do is understand, we have to outline what the problems are. The Black farmers are having a problem. The farmers are having problems. When people are starving, they're killing pigs and animals, and they're destroying produce. We got to stop that.
Yeah.
So you got food, you've got housing, you've got healthcare, you've got just banking.
Yeah.
Because that's how you get your house.
Sure.
We need to say, okay, who's going to fund the SBA program?
Right.
When we defund the police, and yes, some of that needs to happen. And I don't say take money away. I'm not saying kill the police, no. What I'm saying is, because we have with the police, they get limitless money like the Pentagon does.
Santita, they got $100 billion, 100 with a B, billion dollars is the budget for policing in America, 80 billion on incarceration.
Yep. I mean, so what are you all trying to do? Lock us up? So
exactly.
So I mean, But see, one of the things that I love about Stephen and Ricky is that they get numbers. And that's one of the things I've learned from Reverend Jackson and Reverend Riddick and all these ministers I grew up with, because they were all very, very involved in social change. And that was Dr. King's thing. You have to diagnose the problem. And you also have to look at, okay, it's wonderful to talk about the beloved community, but what is it going to look like? What is it going to cost? Because see, not having the beloved community is costing us everything. It's too expensive.
That's right.
When you see these people marching about George Floyd, it's George Floyd. It's 50 million people unemployed, recently unemployed. It is, folks. I asked Jonathan. I said, this week. I said, look at Los Angeles. Have you seen these marches? What is going on? He said, let me ask you something. Did you get a paycheck last month? I said, sure. He said, well, they didn't.
Yeah.
He said, these kids are out of school.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting paid. Do they have food when they go home? He said, what else do they have to do?
Right.
And they saw someone choked to death. It was a snuff film.
Yeah.
So policy, Stephen, I think I've given you some bright lines.
Oh, you've given us a sociology lesson and a political science class at the same time. Look, I'm just listening, taking notes.
Tish, what's your lens on how we take our power back? I mean, you worked in the corporate space and you're in the ministry space.
Yeah, so I think one of the ways I've seen, if I can just speak from a theological perspective for a second, yes. I think one of the ways I have seen the most recent generation and millennials take back their power and our image is in redefining Jesus, redefining who Jesus is to them, apart from the Jesus that they've seen, apart from the Jesus that hung between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King on their grandma's wall, apart from the Jesus that we see and still in many Black churches today. I think that, and
you
that
mean Michelangelo's boyfriend?
That one.
That Jesus?
That one. I think that what had happened.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
No, where you going?
No, Pastor. No, you on to something.
I'm a lover of Italian art. So yeah. The Renaissance. So I think that what happens is, and that's, I think also when we talk about the decline of young people from the church,
right?
They wanted to see Jesus. It was more about not being solely interested in the person of Jesus, but being more interested in the politics of Jesus as well.
Right.
Speaking of which, the book by Reverend Dr. Aubrey Hendricks, The Politics of Jesus, and he talks about his struggle and kind of trying to reconcile the Jesus image that he saw and heard, sort of this lily-livered, coward, kowtowing, gentle-natured Jesus versus the Jesus that went in the temple and started whipping folk, versus the Jesus who said, I didn't come with, the peace, I came with the sword. And he's like, I'm having a hard time reconciling this. And I think what we see now, even in this protest and what we see in the young people, they have redefined who Jesus is, and it's made it okay to fight for who they are. That he is not white, that he is not straight haired, that he is of darker hue, that he is this Palestinian Jew, and it is okay to redefine all of that. So I think that has really changed in how we take back our power. If I can speak about being a woman, a Black woman, I have seen a great revolution over the last, maybe dare I say, Sister Santita, 5 years, maybe 10 years, in women reclaiming what their definition of beauty is. That's how we reclaim our power.
Yes.
And the Kardashians didn't do that. They just jumped on the bandwagon. But the reality is, and I'm sorry, I'm from New York, we've been fly. And, one of the reasons, if I can share a personal story, I cut my hair 8 years ago. The reason I cut my hair, it was not to fight the power. It was not to make some bold statement. But what I realized was I was being oppressed by my hair. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
I was being oppressed by my hair. And so what do I mean? It meant that if I had to go out, I then had to dedicate hours of my life. I had to dedicate 6 hours of my life for a 2-hour event.
Wow.
I had to sit in the salon to get fried, dyed, and laid to the side just to go out somewhere for an hour. And my whole schedule revolved around that. That is oppressive, right? Wow. And I did it because I thought there was a beauty standard that I was supposed to subscribe to. And then one day I cut it all off and found out I had these amazing, beautiful curly coils that I absolutely love. And when I did that, I took back my power to say that, yeah, my Black is beautiful. And now we're seeing this whole revolution of different cosmetic hues, even down to, who is it, Stephen? Christian Louboutin.
Yeah.
Has not just a neutral shoe pump, a classic pump that matches a white hue, but now he has every hue of every woman of color. And so we've just made a decision to go back to our roots, to embrace who we are, as you mentioned in the beginning, Sister Santita. And I think that's how we take back our power. We embrace our culture. We embrace who we are, and we have a better understanding of who we are. That's another thing. When we look at arts and we look at culture, a lot of our story has been told for us. But now our story is starting to be told by us. And when the story is told by us, it changes the whole story. There's a big difference between the 1915 birth of a nation and the 2015, 2016 birth of a nation. That's our version. So we have to learn how to pull back in every area, that we are not only going to allow them to tell our stories, but we are going to tell our stories. And as a woman pastor, specifically a woman preacher, one of the things I'm very passionate about is women telling their stories.
Yes.
When we don't tell our stories die with us. And what we have always been as a culture is amazing storytellers.
Yes.
If any of us were to go to a barbecue right now, somebody be like, remember that time? It was me, Mickey, Stephen, and Santita. We was all online. Remember that time? We are amazing storytellers. And we have gotten away from our storytelling, and in do so, we've allowed other people to take control of the narrative and thereby losing our history. And so I say we have to tell our stories, because when we don't, they die with us and we don't know our history.
Right.
And so then what happens is we fall for a revisionist history that tells us our story started in slavery and that didn't start with kings and queens.
Yes, ma'am.
But, can I say something here on the because you just hit me, Tish, about the hair. Because I have my baby sister, my sister and I bookend our family. I'm the eldest, and Jackie, Dr. Jackson is the baby. My mother cut our hair off when we were like 6 and 7. She cut my hair off when I was about 6. And, long pigtails, you know the drill. And then my sister, if you see my sister you see my father at the 1984 convention, picks up this little girl who's my baby sister at the time. Was just frightened to death of the crowd, but he kind of wanted to make her feel more secure. And we were waving goodbye. And Jackie this is 1984, she was 8. She was not yet 9. But you would see her with a teeny weeny afro. And it hit me. I looked, I said, Mom, she said, that's for all of our Black girls. She said, if you notice, I cut your hair off, because I wanted to disabuse you of the notion that that's where your beauty rested.
Absolutely.
And that's very key. And I used to wrestle with my hair, because with the natural hair movement, I had to deal with, having curly hair. Curly, kinky, whatever it is, it's curly.
Yeah.
And the world was not waiting for me. It would iron out beautifully, but honey, after a couple of days, it was strong. It was a mess. But you know what? It's my hair.
Right.
And that's what and that symbolizes, particularly for Black women.
Oh, sure.
That, Tish, that's a real thing for us. And so when I saw you, I said, because I just pulled my hair all the way back because I want to do this.
Yeah.
But my mother said, now, you could also be bald. I said, and I've been to Africa enough I'm very secure. If I had to be bald, I would be. That's why Ayanna Presley coming out and saying, I've got alopecia. This is me. And I'm
yes.
I said, actually, she is really beautiful without all that hair.
Yeah.
But embrace it. You know what I mean?
That's our biggest act of resistance, is being ourselves. Breathing every day is our most significant act of resistance.
That's right.
Let them hear, as we wrap up today, I want them to know how to get in touch with you ladies, to continue to follow you, to hear more about your story, so your juice can continue to flow.
Stephen, before they do that, I do have a public service announcement. As of today, Stephen and I will no longer be hosting this show. This show is now hosted by Tish and Santita. So we will just be behind the scenes to get them coffee and water, whatever they need. But just so y'all know, we're done at this. Last time y'all will see us as the host. They may let us come on, but it's their show. Professor Williams and Professor Jackson have taken us to school today. Please tell us how we can get in touch with you all. Well, I'll start with you, Tisha. And what is it that you want people to engage with?
Well, I want people to engage. They certainly can engage with Who's That Lady? That's my women's ministry. But more importantly, I would love you all to engage in the First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton church services. We are on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube under the same name. You can also go to who'sthatladymin.com. I'm on Facebook, Tisha Dixon-Williams, and also on IG at who'sthat.lady.
Well, you can reach me on Santita Jackson and Friends. My home station is WCPT AM in Chicago. It's the largest progressive talk radio station in the country. I do morning drive. Of course, my inaugurating good news preacher was Reverend StephenThurston. And then I've had Reverend Dr. Allmon on several times. They're all part of my family.
It's our pleasure.
And it's a blessing. From 7 to 9 Eastern time in the morning. And of course, I'm going to have Pastor Tisha on ASAP.
Yes.
And so that's morning drive every morning. And then I also produce and co-host Reverend Jackson's nationally syndicated radio show, 7 to 9 on Sundays Central Time, 8 to 10 a.m. Keep Up Alive. And you can reach me on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. SantitaJackson.com is under reconstruction. Yay. Santita Jackson IG on Instagram and at Santita J on Twitter. I want to hear from you about everything. And register and vote, everybody. Please.
That's it.
Yes.
Stephen, before you take us out, I want to mention that my brother StephenThurston has a new book out. I'm literally putting it on the screen as we speak. He's got a new book out called Unplug. It's an ebook. And I want to encourage you to go to StephenThurston.com. Stephen J. Thurston. I'm putting it in his square right now. There it is. So you all can see it. Bud. Go to StephenThurston.com. Get that book as well as any other resources that he has. Ladies, thank you so much for adding the beauty that we needed. We knew we were needing something. We were missing something. And you all brought the beauty and the brilliance necessary, especially to this conversation and this social commentary. So thank you again. When we end here, we can still wrap up, have our afterglow on the other side of this. But I wanted to say this publicly. Stephen, let's remind them to join the group. Yes. The revolution will not be televised. It will be streamed. Tell them what they need to do.
Simply go on Facebook, type in the search, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It'll pop up. You answer 3 simple questions. We want to make sure we got the right people with the right mindset getting in the group. There's some goodies, some treats, some specifics that you'll find in the group that you won't find anywhere else. And then again, some of these presentations that you see here, you won't be able to see them very soon unless you're a member of the group. So please get connected, get plugged in, and check out RickyAllmon's website too. He's got a book. He's got an audio book. He's got amazing content. RickyAllmon.
Ordered your book.
Thank you.
Let's connect with Ricky as well. Thank y'all for tuning in today. Hit the share button if you didn't already do it. And we pray that you'd have an amazing week.
Thank you.